everybody.
Jamming out.
I know, I didn't keep jamming to the song because I like our song so much. Welcome. You made the video, so you should be proud of it. Seriously.
Well, I didn't want to tell people that. I was just over here jamming to my work that I did.
Great. But we're so proud that you jammed your work. So anyway, welcome to Career Launch, everybody. This is a very exciting episode, our Women in Business episode. We could not be more excited. We have a fan-freaking-tastic lineup. We have first with us, they're going to be Maggie, Schuster, and Scully. Then we're going to have the infamous Kat Breed, the amazing, the wonderful Miss Kat. Then we're going to have Sasha Zebrick, Miss of Sasha Speaks. Definitely stay in for that segment. Sasha is incredible and really knows how to teach you how to present yourself. I've spoken to her, a lot of her clients. She knows her stuff. Then we're going to have Paola Torres. She's wonderful, an insurance specialist and entrepreneur. Definitely stay tuned for her as well. And then last but most certainly not least, we're going to have Jan Barlow with us. And I'm very excited about that as well because she has some exciting stuff coming up and some very interesting insight to share. And this episode is going to be dedicated to women. Now, guys, that does not mean that you won't get anything out of this, but please understand that this episode is strictly for women.
Well, it's about women. So it doesn't mean it's just for women. It can be for men too. You're learning about women in the workplace and
that's right. And I want to start today's episode because I believe that you should always give your credentials. Why should someone listen to you, right? And people have said, well, it's so cute that you have your sister on. I'm like, cute? That's not cute. She's qualified. You know, my sister is qualified. That's why she's had a segment on the show since the beginning. And that's why I've continued to have her on and why she's co-hosting with me today. So, Michaela, let's start with your origin story. Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it.
Well, I started I have sort of an interesting backstory. I started, with psychology. In my first semester of college, I knew it's going to be in psychology, but I thought for animal behavior. My first semester of college, though, I found out real fast, I'm not in it for animal behavior. I'm in it because I have a passion for helping people. And so my journey progressed in ways I just could not have even imagined going through school. And now I'm somewhere I never thought I would be in my master's. One more semester left, and I will have graduated with my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I got my bachelor's from Tarleton in psychology. And now I'm doing my master's, finishing that up.
And it's not that simple. You've had some amazing accomplishments for someone so young in their career. So let's hear about some of your accomplishments.
Well, here I go. I'm going to boast on myself just a little bit, guys. But yeah, I have presented at state conventions. I've done research with my professors that I'm now publishing, first author status. So I'm really excited for that. Yay. And I also have presented at the Texas A&M International Symposium, presented my research there as well. And that was.
So in other words, guys, she knows what she's talking about. So listen.
And not only that,
and not only that, she also has worked in recruiting with me and sourcing, and she makes all of our videos and all of that. So you can check out her work. Yeah. So she's been doing a lot there. Yeah.
Oh, and animal assisted therapy. Gosh, I almost forgot. Yeah, I'm doing animal assisted therapy.
How dare you forget Maslow?
Sorry. Yeah, and they're even laying right here. So. Super
she
cute.
Works so what she does, guys, is she works with dogs to help people, basically. That's the short version.
With my counseling, I work with children and adolescents, and I use my dog in that work. So what about you, Catherine? You've had quite the story as well, starting out. So what's the background?
I love it. So long story short, I worked in recruiting years ago, loved it, but decided it could be done better. Struck out and started Titan Management. Had lots of ups and downs there, restarted it here in Florida. And I've really, really enjoyed learning more about entrepreneurship. And Titan Management is a recruiting and consulting firm dedicated to helping people do things right, especially young entrepreneurs. That's my focus. And so I've done that. Now I've started this show earlier this year, which was originally meant to be a one-off event to help people during COVID, and now it's turned into a whole hoopla. And then I also have started Titan ATS, which I'm very, very excited about. So an applicant tracking system, guys, is basically a CRM for companies to track their applicants. And I am I decided that whole system was broken. They're just horrible. They're horrible. They create all kinds of biases and they disregard candidates that should be considered. And it's completely ridiculous. So I set out to do it better. And so we are creating a patent pending applicant tracking system that will help eliminate discrimination, and it will also help companies to better focus on the proper aspects of a candidate, which means that they will not even be seeing their resume. Yeah. And I cut that sucker right on out. So I have that going up. So that's pretty much it. That's what I've been doing for a long time. I work on a national level. I love it. I recruit across multiple industries. My favorites are financials and working anything with executives. I love helping to find decision makers that are going to help a company grow. That's kind of my passion, is helping those guys. And I have some exciting stuff coming up. We'll talk about that later with Jan and with Kat. But I've got some big symposiums and things like that coming up. That
I didn't realize you had some symposiums coming up. That'll be cool.
We've got some big events coming up that I'm going to be. I wish I'll be. I can't talk today. I can't. I
think you're doing a beautiful job communicating. I understand you. But if I did, everyone should be able to. So.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, guys, that's a little bit about us and the founders of Career Launch Live. We also have our beautiful Nina, who's behind the scenes, who has worked in all kinds of interesting areas in IT and in project management and things like that. She even works on government projects. Fascinating woman. Definitely look her up, Nina Modi. But I want to take a second before we hop into our first guest to go over some very interesting statistics, because this is our Women in Business episode, right? So what do we know factually about women in business, right? I think that's an important thing to address. There's a lot of misconceptions about women in business and a lot of ideas that are very archaic, not based on facts. So we're going to kind of go over some facts real quick. So the most exciting fact to me is I hear all the time, women just don't negotiate as much. They need to just start paying us higher because women, it's just our personalities not to negotiate. Ladies, if you are saying that, that is a reflection on you. You are projecting, okay? Because factually speaking, women negotiate 2% more than men on a national basis. So we are more apt to negotiate and ask for raises. We're also far more likely to ask to work on a project and like to speak up at work and go, yeah, right here, I got this. I will help you out. Women are far more likely. 69% of women will stick their hand up and say, right here, I'm here to help. And by the way, guys, where I'm getting these facts today, I'm going to go ahead and cite my facts so that you guys can look them up on your own if you question anything that I say. So I get a lot of my information from Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So you can do a lot of research there, okay? Another one, let me make sure that I am saying this right. McKinsey and Company, I think. Yes, that's right. They spell it real weird though. It's McKinsey and Company. They've done a big study, so that's where my other information. So those two sites, and also Statistica. I've gotten one of my facts off of there. So, but mostly Bureau of Labor and Statistics is where I'm going to get these. So again, we negotiate 2% more. And one thing that's really interesting too to me that I did not know is that 5% of women are more satisfied at work than men.
I wonder what accounts for that difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious to know too, is what's causing that? What's the kind of difference there? Why are women more satisfied than men are? And it's not, by the way, that, and when I say satisfied, I don't mean that they're not looking to grow. That's not what I mean. I just mean that they have job satisfaction overall. They have a sense of pride in their work. Now, some of the more disturbing statistics were that 57% of women participate in the workforce, but 69% of men do. And I realize that some of that is the stay-at-home mom aspect, which is beautiful, ladies. First of all, I want to get that right on out there. I think that choosing to stay home with your children is a beautiful, beautiful choice, and it is a job in and of itself. I fully acknowledge that, and kudos to anyone who makes that choice. Yes, it is a full-time job, especially when done well. So kudos to that. But I thought that was a really interesting statistic, and I think the only reason for that is that society thinks it should be women staying home with the kids, not men. So if that was a more split deal, I think that would be pretty even.
It's starting to split more. Like I've heard of more stay-at-home dads, but you're right. The vast majority of society is like, no, that's a woman's job, and that's still what's believed. And there is certainly some evidence to back why that's. And it's not all, I don't think, a stigma. I mean, I do think that there is some truth to the fact that the mother staying home could be more beneficial for the children, but not enough to really back that entire statement. If that makes any amount of sense.
So, but the good news is that statistic is leveling out. It's coming up and leveling out, as is the number of women. So women are right now earning less in their businesses than men. That's only because the men have been in business longer, because women are quickly gaining, and all the economists that I could find were saying that within the next 5 to 10 years, women will vastly surpass men in terms of their earning potential as entrepreneurs. So with that said, I actually want to talk to a couple of ladies that are in a very unique male-driven field. Let's bring on Maggie Schuster and Samantha Scully. I am very excited to have them on with us today. Can we get them on there, Sam? And let's see if and there's Miss Maggie.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome on.
Hi.
We are so excited.
Do you mind, Kathy, if I kind of...
Go ahead. Oh, I think she's cutting out.
Oh, I was just going to say, sorry. I was going to say regarding the statistics, if you don't mind me adding to it.
Sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in regards to women in business, there's actually, and I don't have the exact percentage, but in my industry, which is insurance adjusting, and also drone services, insurance adjusting, they found that women are more detail oriented, better at writing up insurance claims.
True.
So
that's
it's about women being
many
detailed.
industries.
Right.
Yes.
And then I found that with technology and everything like that, one of the things that I found as a drone operator, that we are more careful about bringing up our birds, we call them, our drones, and we're more careful about operating them. Men tend to be wanting to do things really fast and fly their drones really fast. And so there's more accidents and more mishaps. We tend to fly our drones a little bit more gingerly, and we're more gingerly on the handles of the drone. And so our actual production or actual results of flying are a lot more.
I would be like running head on into
people.
You wouldn't. You say that. I really would. I really would. I guess I could never do that.
Kathy, not when you have a drone that's worth $2,000 to $15,000. You wouldn't.
Well, that's so Samantha.
Yes,
I want to kind of ask you too. Okay.
I just wanted to show you my drone here. That's one of them.
That's really cool. That's really cool. We're going to dive into that in just a second. But Miss Sammy, I am so excited to have you too, because your background is in staffing, like myself.
Right.
Right. You've been doing it for a hot minute.
Yes. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to start talking about the drone piloting and all of that.
Okay. I know we don't have all day, so I'm going to keep it brief. But basically, I've been working as a consultant most of my career, and I just decided that, like you say, being in the area of the space, a lot of times there was no other women of color. And of course, they want us to do the clerical stuff. So after kind of like doing it for years, I just decided, let me help people find jobs, because people would want basically a clone of me, and I can't do that. So the best thing to do was reach out to my network, because I know, wonderful people. And so that's what I started doing, and just kind of jumped out there.
And real quick, I want to pause there. Yeah. So you reached out to your network. I want to emphasize that, because you have a lot of job seekers watching right now. Network. And we're going to talk with our next guest about cultivating your network. So stay tuned to that. But keep going, Sammy. I just wanted to harp on that.
Yeah. So basically reached out to my network and just started staffing. And I am just happy to say that it is definitely helping me during COVID-19 here.
Wonderful.
As far as drones, I'm new into that. I am preparing for my exam. So I hope to
Good luck.
I hope to educate the community and others on what basically drones are doing in their area, so they have a better understanding and they're not afraid.
And you know, I thought that this was fascinating when I talked to you guys about this. I did not know that this was a career. So guys, you could have a whole career flying drones. That's amazing. I said that to my husband, and he goes, sold, hired right here. I got it.
And see, that's what Maggie already has a career, and I'm trying to start my career. And I just decided to start with getting the taking the certification,
right,
and going from there.
So how do you get into this, Maggie? How do you get into, if let's say one of these ladies watching goes, I want to play with drones all day too. How do you do it?
Right. First of all, I got to it. I had 14 years of insurance adjusting, and I saw the future. I saw the virtual inspections with drones, and I asked a couple of the companies I worked for, because I work on a contract basis doing adjusting estimates, and no one was agreement that this was even going to take place, and I didn't get any support. So I went out and seeked on the internet, taking classes or getting introduced to drones. And then I found out that I do so much more than just insurance. And for 3 years now, I've got my license, and I've been flying, actually working with companies on problem solving, and having the drones as being one of the tools that I use to assist and help. I also am a member of Women in Drones, and I put the link on there. That's really important to network when we're talking about networking. Women in Drones is a international organization, and please, everyone that is interested, please look into it. We have actually a career contact, and what that is an actual resource where you can look at industries that are hiring for not just operators. Keep this in mind. This is just one of the tools. You could be a programmer. You could be, in the logistics. You can be in management. You can be, anything like that. And we're actually got companies matching candidates with Women in Drones. So, look into it, enjoy it, because it's free for somebody to put their resume. Just so you know, the resumes and interviews.
And real quick, Maggie, what's the website for that?
It's Women in Drones, and when you look into it, when you look to Women in Drones contact, and it's an actual list
Maggie,
where you can.
Maggie, I don't know if you can hear me. We're having a lot of technical difficulties, so I'm going to ask Sammy the same question. Sammy. Hold on, Sammy's on mute for some reason. Sam, can you take yourself off mute? There you go. All right, what's the website?
The website is Women in Drones. I just put it in the chat, but womenindrones.com.
Okay, womenindrones.com. And just so y'all know, they can't see that chat.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. Now it's popping up. We copy pasted it. So Nina's copy pasted that for us. So it's womenindrones.com. And so guys, even if you're not interested in a drone career, they're saying that there are other opportunities in there as well. But even if you are interested in a drone career, they have an amazing event coming up. Nina, if you're still able to hear us, can you put up that image that shows their events and how to find it, their class? Let's see if we get, Nina, our beloved Nina, has a meeting today, so I don't know if she'll be able to do it. But either way, they do have a class coming up. Oh, there it goes.
Yes.
So there you go, guys. You can check that out at NorthTexasUAS.com. And that will be a very valuable class to learn about the possibility of drone careers. And if you know somebody who might be interested in this, this would be a great opportunity. This is a really cool field that once I spoke to Maggie and Sammy, I realized, it was something really spectacular that's out there. All right, so let's move that off. There we go. All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, so you said, Sammy, you kind of wanted to get into it because it was different, but let's talk about that. So a lot of people, because you work in the staffing industry too, right? Mm-hmm. And so you see the same kind of stuff I do. A lot of people keep trying to get the same kind of job that they just had, right?
Say that again.
I said a lot of people try to get the same kind of job that they just had.
So for instance, like a programmer.
Right. We'll try to get another programmer, or a secretary will try to get another secretary job, or a customer service rep will try to get another customer service, and they don't look outside of that.
Right.
So yeah. So let's start with, what is your advice to people about when it comes to looking into new careers?
For that, I would say, for me, I'm kind of open. So I'm saying, like, I would say be open. You know, don't just like automatically think you can only do clerical or be, you know, an engineer. You know, an engineer could be creative if they try.
Right.
So like, you know, go outside of yourself and do something different.
Yes. And ladies, and you know this in particular, Sammy, being a woman of color, sometimes you'll have people tell you, no, that's not a field for you.
Oh, yes, definitely. For me, it's a challenge. You know, I don't give a dang. I go for what I want to do. You know,
you sound like me. That's exactly how I am. I don't care. Whatever. I'm going to do it if I want to.
Exactly.
So how do you do that? How do you go about conquering that?
Well, the first thing I did was I did join Women in Drones. And once I joined the organization, I started being exposed to different types of people doing different things. And then I just I got involved. And then from there, here I am. Right.
And I think that is so important to remember. Again, networking, right? Use people. Join organizations that can help you go to networking events if, you know, COVID permitting. And
online,
get on LinkedIn.
Like we're doing today.
Yes, and like we're doing today. Do stuff like this. Hop on shows, get on Zoom meetings.
Yeah, one of the things that
Maggie's trying to say something.
Okay, well, Michaela, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, one of the things that keeps popping into my mind right now is that one of the myths that continuously popped up on Google when I would search myths about women in business is that women lack confidence. And I'm just sitting here listening to both Maggie and listening to Sammy, listening to you, Catherine, and thinking about myself and my mother and my aunts and everyone that I know. I don't see the statistics there. I really don't. And you're right, Sammy and Maggie, both. There are a lot of challenges in branching out and trying something new. It doesn't mean that it can't be done.
Right. 100%.
Can I add to that, Kathy? I just wanted to say that I think sometimes women are their worst enemies, their own worst enemies. Yeah. Sometimes I think that we think that we're only filling a quota. You know, in pilots, there's only 4% women that are applying. And well, you can take it both ways. You can take the advantage of, you know, filling a quota, because now a lot of the companies require, diversity and having women on their team. And men tend to look at, oh, you're just filling a quota. You know, you don't really have the qualifications that I have.
Right.
And it's really important that we know that we're a team member and to be able to contribute to that, because we really do contribute to a team, and that we 100%. Have different ideas, we have different perspectives, and that's really important.
And that's part of hiring true diversity too, right? So anybody who I have some recruiters watching today too. So, and hiring managers. So if you're hiring true diversity, you're looking for people with different backgrounds, with different skill sets, with different personalities. That's what you're looking for. That's what hiring true diversity means.
Right.
Get rid of the wrapping paper, right? Get rid of all the stuff that you see physically, and look at who that person is and what they could potentially bring to the table. Yeah, 100%.
If you don't mind, this actually reminds me of when I'm one of the places I'm working with right now in my internship is a private practice. And when I joined them, my theory for counseling is entirely different from theirs. They do cognitive based, and I'm very experiential. And so I was talking to them, and I was like, you know, I really don't know if I'm a good fit for you guys. I'm very experiential. And they said, Michaela, we need that because we don't have that already. And so that really up to this understanding of you need to have an eclectic team to really bring the wholeness to what you're giving. just basically.
100%. 100%. And I have a question real quick. Is anybody else seeing Michaela as a strobe light, or is that just me? Like, I'm getting this
I
blinky
don't see
thing.
that.
How
Oh,
exciting!
yeah,
You're having a
this is
rave?
She's just trying to give me a seizure. That's okay. We'll just.
I'm just raving over here. Just
So, you know, and you know what, though, on that note, though, and that is so true. It's diversity. And I've had teams that were mostly women working in recruiting, right? There's a lot of women and working around HR. But they were all so different. And people would say, oh, well, you know, and hi, Candace. Somebody just said hi to us. And I can tell you, it's amazing to me, the levels of diversity that come together with a bunch of different women. You have ones like me that are kind of on the more assertive, / aggressive side. You know, you have Michaela, who is very aware of the feelings and cognitive of that type of thing. You know, everybody has their own strengths. And so I think it's important for ladies, anybody really, but ladies especially, to make sure that you're letting people know I'm more than what you're looking at here. You know,
Right.
I have everything I have all kinds of stuff going on up here, and that's what you should be looking at. Yeah, when you're looking at me professionally. And so so a lot of, there are still statistics, and I'm going to give you the exact statistics. This is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and as well as one of the other studies that I mentioned earlier. So only 22% of C-suite executives are women. That's gross. And what a lot of people don't realize when they're looking at disparity facts is that that's kind of where it starts. Women get promoted to base level managers. Okay, that happens all the time. And right now, women that have equal education and equal positions in the same geographic area make approximately the same amount as men. Okay, it's less than a 1% difference. It's negligible. But where you start to see those gaps is as you increase. So women are not hitting the level of power, right? Real decision making. So. But what's also interesting is that women leave jobs at the same rate as men. So it's not like women are leaving the workforce and men are staying in. And that's why it's happening. That's not it. So what are your thoughts on that, Sammy?
I think a lot of women are starting their own businesses. You know, they're starting their own things because they are fed up.
Okay.
You know, being left out or being overlooked when it does, trying to get to that C level. You know, as you watch some of the movies they've created in Hollywood, you know, they show how, you know, the women were looked over. And then they give it to the guy or the younger person.
Right.
So, yes.
I think that's, sorry, and I'm trying to adjust my camera. We're having some technical issues today on Career Launch Live. My apologies. But I do think that there is some of that. So you disagree with the idea that women are staying and men are staying. You're saying that you think women are actually leaving and starting their own thing.
Yes.
Okay. And I would actually have to agree with that. I want to say, even though the statistics say that women are staying in jobs just as long, how can that be when women entrepreneurs are on the uprise? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
You know, those things are conflicting to each other, I think. You know, so the last thing I kind of want to ask you guys, because I'm going to be asking all of the ladies here today about this, and we're going to start with you, Maggie. What is the most ridiculous thing that somebody has said to you personally about being a woman in business? Like some ridiculous fact.
Well, I don't know if it's ridiculous, but I have a colleague who's also in the business of drones, and he has his own company along with myself. And he indicated that he couldn't hire me. He asked Maggie, he goes, I can't hire you because you're a woman. Inspections on wind compounds. You know, the things that turn around
windmills
to
wind turbine
produce electricity. Yeah.
Turbines.
Thank you. So yes, thank you. I'm going a blank, but there's the career opportunity to go and do aerial inspections of these wind turbines. And he told me he couldn't hire a woman because we would be on the road with men, and that would be a risk of sexual,
no, that's extremely sexist and extremely ridiculous. Yeah, no, that's extremely ridiculous. You can have men having sexual encounters. Oh yeah. Oh, people are real bold about it sometimes. Okay, Maggie, I'm sorry, honey. You're having technical problems again. Yeah, we're having technical problems with you again. It's okay. We can't hear you. But Sam, what about you? What's the most ridiculous thing that you've been told?
Nothing really comes to mind because I really don't stand for it. But I mean,
that's so funny.
I can't even think of anything. I can't even make anything up.
You know what? Then let's just leave it at that. Don't stand for it. I like that. Just don't. If somebody says something stupid like what that guy said to Maggie, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that's stupid. If somebody says something like that to you, or somebody says something like that, around you, laugh at them, make them feel dumb, show them how dumb what they said was. Just put it on out there. And at that note, I want to thank you both very much for joining us today.
Thank you both.
Again, everybody, if you are interested in a drone career, I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, Nina, let's take them out. There we go. If you're interested in a drone career, definitely go check them out. Womenandrones.com. You'll see the link in the comments. It's a really cool career option.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go fly a drone for a living. You're just playing with this thingy all day. I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but in my mind, that's all you're doing.
Reevaluate my life choices.
Right? Yeah, I could be playing with a toy all day for a job. And next, we are going to be bringing on the one, the only Miss Kat Breet. Let's get her on here. I am dying to have her. Woo, Miss Kat. Where'd she go? Nina?
We're going to try to get her on.
Is Nina with us? I think Nina had to abandon us. Let's try to bring her on ourselves. There we go.
Hey. How are you?
Hi, Kat. I'm really good. How are you today?
Hi, Michaela. I'm awesome. What a great way to end the year is with you two and all of your fabulous guests.
Hey.
Thank you. And I want you guys to know, so Kat did this on the spur of the moment because another guest bailed on me.
That's awesome.
So thank you so much.
They don't want to hear us rattling on, or us. Yeah, they don't want to hear us rattling on.
No. But I wanted to start off because I love your origin story, Kat. So you have a fascinating business, but you started off in staffing and recruiting. Yeah. What prompted you to start your own business?
Well, as a fellow staffing industry pro, you'll appreciate this. I started dreaming about starting my own business when I was working for a toxic boss in a global staffing firm that was making tons of money, placing tons of people, and they just were treating people like dirt. And I got good enough at my trade and successful enough that I was like, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. One of my bosses actually said to me, we are not the Red Cross. You've got to stop trying to help everybody. And my business brain said, I know you're right. I know I can't spend an hour for free helping everybody who asks me for it. But man, I want to find a way to help everybody. And I think there's a way to do it. So anyway, he lit a little fire in my belly. And it took me 12 years to start my own business. What prompted, timing wise, I dreamed about it for a few years. What made me pull the trigger actually fits what you've been talking about with Michaela and Maggie and Sammy today, which is women quitting the workforce because of caregiving, moms, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And incidentally, I think the stats you were looking at around women quitting rates must have been 2019 because 2020 blew that all up. In September of this year, 817,000 women quit.
Isn't that amazing?
Versus 200 and some thousand men. So things have changed. So anyway, that pretty much happened to me. I had 2 babies in diapers. My nanny quit. My mother was dying. And my dad had a massive stroke. And I was juggling 60 hours a week, and all of that. And I turned down a promotion that I desperately wanted to choose my family first. And I quit and started my own business. And I needed my business to do two things for me. I needed flexibility. That I needed to be able to go to the hospital with my parents and be with my kids. So flexibility and more money per hour. So you talked a little earlier about women earning, equivalent to men. I knew that the only way for me to make more money and work less was to go out on my own. So it was a family crisis that prompted me to leave the workforce and start my own business. But that was 14 years ago, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I know. Isn't it the best? So guys, just from two entrepreneurs here, it's great because you make your own schedule. I mean, you work a lot. Don't get me wrong. This is not a slacking off type scenario. You work a lot, but you get to, so I live in the Treasure Coast in Florida, right? I'm going to brag a little bit about that. I live by the beach. It's phenomenal. And if I wake up one day and go, yeah, I know. They're making.
I am in Florida today. I am not in Florida on the beach.
I know. I am getting some hate looks from those that can't see us right now. This is so funny. So, but I do. I live by the beach, and if I wake up one morning and say I need to see the ocean, I just go do it. Nobody stops me. I just do it. I may answer some emails from the ocean, but I at least get to go look at it, which is really nice. And it's also amazing because you get to be more authentic to yourself. I think working for yourself, you get to say, and Michaela, you even know this too, because really and truly you're independent, right? So in everything you do, whether it's marketing for me / your other clients, or if it's in therapy, you get to be more authentically you. And that's when you're the most successful.
Oh God, yes. Especially in counseling, and especially with the counseling that I do. Yes, when I am authentically myself and free to be myself is when I am best. So I can definitely relate. Definitely.
Yes. I think that when you have something that is your passion. So guys, if you're stuck in a job and you're like, or you're job hunting, you're like, I just need a job, right? I just need a job. That could be okay for right now because you do have to pay bills. Okay. Not knocking that. Sometimes that's just the scenario. But when you're looking down the road, start creating a plan that gets you into a position, whether you're working for yourself or working for someone else, that feeds your passion. Because ladies, that is where we blow it up. I have never seen a woman that when you put her in line with her passion, doesn't just knock it out of the park. Hadn't happened yet. I have watched this. In fact, actually, there are statistics about that too, that women, and I don't have them in front of me, but there are plenty of statistics that show that women, when passionate about something, are far more successful than men. So ladies, take this seriously. Feed that passion. And so I want to ask you, Kat, on that note about feeding passion, how do you go about, because you said you did it, right? You went into something that feeds your passion.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that? Because a lot of people always ask me that, how?
Yeah. It's one thing to say, and I say to people all the time, find your fire. And that incidentally will change depending on where you are in your life. So early in my career, my fire was that boss saying, we are not the Red Cross. Stop trying to help everybody. And I was like, I'm going to find a way. So that kept me going. That also helped me start my business. My fire now is to give other people the tools and the courage to find their fire, chase their dreams, ask for more money, whether it's full-time or starting your own business. However, yes, I've got that fire in my belly. I know exactly what it is. I jump out of bed every day focused on that. And that's what drives me and gets me standing up every day. However, that's different than knowing how your fire is going to feed you financially.
True story.
And just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean there's any money in it. Let's be honest. Your show is pro bono. My live show is pro bono. And that is fire, man. Yeah, Michaela, you know what I'm talking about. So, we love helping people, but where's the money? So this was a real challenge for me. To those of you that are thinking about starting your own business, before you pull the trigger, unless you've got a whole bunch of money in the bank, Before you quit
Right.
that full-time job, you need A, money in the bank. B, you got to find the fire. And C, you need to know who's going to buy.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter. You can be the best thing since sliced bread, but if you're sitting on the shelf and nobody is spending cash on it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And especially in the space that we're in, so many people want help with their career, and I love it. But I have to be strategic from a business perspective and put some boundaries around it. Because otherwise, I would just give up. I'd give away 60 hours a week for free. And I have been guilty of that. I got to rein myself in and set some boundaries and figure out where's the money. And do that first. And then I'll have more time and freedom to give out more pro bono.
100%. And that's exactly what I have going on. Titan feeds me.
Yeah.
Career Launch is how I give back.
Yeah.
That's your passion project. And I'm so happy, Kat, that you brought up the fire, that passion, because what motivation, and we've talked in previous episodes about that fear of branching out on your own, that fear of doing something new. When you find that fire in your belly, guys, and you find that passion, it blows fear out of the water. It really does.
Yes, it does. And so talking about that and blowing fear out of the water, that was a really good segue, Michaela. I want to talk about, so again, we have a lot of job seekers watching, including Liz. Hi, Liz. So by the way, if anybody out there is looking for an amazing assistant or somebody who works around events, check out Liz. She is amazing and has dropped her LinkedIn in the comments. So for
Liz,
our job seekers,
I might have a client for you, Liz. Just yesterday, a woman in business said she needs a virtual assistant. So
Liz, reach out to Kat Breet. There you go. I see. This is yay connections happening on Career Launch. This is what I like to see. Now I'm happy. My soul is fed. What can we say? What did you say, Michaela, that I said was brilliant? Now I've lost my brain.
The fire.
No, not that. We talked about that. There was something, ferocity. There you go. Ferocity. That's what it was. So as you are job searching, right? You have to have that ferocity and you have to present yourself a certain way, right? So first, let's talk about one of my favorites, which is your social media. This is what Kat just took a deep breath. For those of you that cannot see her.
I'll do a centering exercise after this, guys. We'll be okay. We'll get through it.
Yes. Everyone follow Michaela after this for a breathing exercise. All right. So Kat, how do you tell people to manage their social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the way to LinkedIn while they're job searching, especially ladies? Because we have some particulars that we have to be extra careful about.
Yeah. I like to keep things super simple. And two things. First of all, my dad always said to me, and I hated him for it, you will be judged by the company you keep.
Yes.
I hated him for it. I argued about it all the time with him, but it's true. So you have to pay attention, especially on Facebook, Instagram, those more casual social media platforms. Mm-hmm. You will be judged by the people that you're hanging out with and their profiles and what you like and comment. The second thing is people are checking you out on LinkedIn and on social media, all of it. You don't get a second chance for a first impression. And so my simple trick there is every single time you're about to post a bikini shot or a beer bong shot or a nasty comment about a politician, whatever, I want you to ask yourself one question. Would this make my mama proud?
Ooh.
And if you don't want your mom or your dad to see that post, take your fingers off that phone and don't post it. It's that simple. Yeah. If you aren't proud enough to stand by that comment, that like, that post with everybody, then you shouldn't do it. And a lot of people they hate me when I say that, but they know in their bones it's true. Not only will you be judged when somebody sees that live, but you know what? Especially for job seekers, everything you do online is there forever. You can you can check all the boxes that you want to be private and anonymous. I got to tell you, it doesn't take much for me, and I'm stupid with technology. It doesn't take much for me to go snoop and find some very unflattering flattering stuff about you online, and I don't want to know about it. I don't. So
No, and I
my
see
little
that
spiel
all the time. And ladies, again, I live in South Florida, right? So if you got on my Facebook and you really scrolled, you'd see some bathing suit shots. They're not sexy.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Oh.
and
I'm not dissing myself.
like a cat with your legs.
No, I'm not arching my back and all of that. No.
Yoga poses.
Yeah, some yoga poses on the beach, at the nude beach. Seriously, you will see pictures of me, but not in a sexy way. And I think that that's important for male and female, but especially ladies, because one of the things that we're combating in the market is this idea that we can't be serious business people, which is ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to just put that out there, but it is true. You have to overcome. And in order to overcome some of these prejudices, you have to take personal responsibility. Okay. It's just like I tell mamas, ladies, it's beautiful that you have kids. When you get the job, talk about your kids. While you are interviewing for the job, do not talk about your kids. No, because here, and I don't mean you can mention them briefly, once or something like that. That's okay. But I've seen a lot of women, and it's always women for some reason, that just go on and on and on. And you know what you just told me? I'm going to call in every single time my kid goes and sniffles. I'm going to call in every time they have a school play. I'm going to call in for prom. That's what you just told me. You told me that you can't separate, that you can't also be a professional, right? And one thing that my mother taught me, we're talking about our mamas earlier, one thing that our mother, I should say, since Michaela's here too, that our mother taught us is that it's important to be a person and a mom, right? So you be a mama, you be the best darn mama you can be, but also show your kids how to be a person, and separate those things. You're always a mama. That's okay. But can I focus on the task at hand? That's what hiring managers want to know. Job people. I nearly said job people, really, but that's what hiring managers want to know. Seriously, is that you can focus. And also the same thing about being sexy. Don't be putting your business out there, and don't go to an interview with your bra hanging out. I have seen that so many times. I can't even count. Please do not do that, ladies. Look dignified. Come on. And don't wear your Saturday night makeup. Look at Kat. Okay. If you can see the screen right now, if you're not listening to the podcast version of this, you can see the screen. Look at Kat breathe. This is how professional makeup looks. Yeah, there you go, Kat. Just put your face right in there so they can see it. And then you got me. I'm not wearing any makeup. I don't think Michaela is either. We've rocked. Okay, we're rocking the all natural kind of look. But there you go. Michaela looks professional too. So she has a little bit. Yeah. So there you go. Two great examples. Just keep it professional. That's so important.
Don't go nuts. Well, I mean, if you're applying for like a beauty a beauty,
yes.
Okay, yeah, go nuts. But if you're going to like a business, I don't know, what's a good business, like an accounting firm, maybe don't put on the same kind of makeup that you would, or do.
No.
Yeah,
Know your audience.
It goes for clothes too. Like I was like, I'm with Catherine and Michaela. I'm gonna have a little fun today.
Oh yeah.
But I would never wear this for an initial interview with a prospective client in the financial services industry. Now, if I was interviewing in an ad agency, I used to sell consultants to ad agencies. You better believe I'd be in my sassy outfit.
Oh yeah.
So know your audience.
Yes, know your audience. And that's exactly it. If you can look up the person who's interviewing you ahead of time, that will help. Look at how they dress. Look at how they present themselves. Do you have a common TV show that you can laugh about, or a common charity that you can go back and forth about? Look that kind of stuff up. It'll help you. So Kat, before.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, gets good at stalking. Ooh, that's good advice. Don't be too creepo though. That'll be a whole other. Go back to our previous episodes to learn how to not be creepy if you need to.
Right.
But I want to ask you, Kat, because I'm going to be asking all of our guests this, all of our lovely lady guests. What is the most stupid, idiotic thing that someone has ever said to you as a woman in business? about being a female in business.
Yeah. And, you know, on the one hand, I'm with Sammy. Fortunately, I haven't heard a lot about being a woman, and I haven't heard anything about being a woman in business, but I did hear something that cut me to the bone that you mentioned earlier. So back to my origin story, I married a guy from South Africa who I still adore, and we're still married. His parents bought me a zebra as a wedding present. Super
That's
fun.
cool. I want a zebra.
That's so cool.
Super fun. And so I, of course, went to South Africa. They're like, but he's going to live on our farm in South Africa. You have to come visit us to see him. And please bring our son. So, of course, I went to South Africa and I wanted to find my zebra in a herd of 30. And I couldn't. Like, I had my headshot and my binocs. And I'm like, where is he? And I could never find my guy because they all look alike. So this is where the noodle started that, when I'm recruiting at first blush, all the candidates look the same. My job is to help them stand out from the herd. What if I started a business and called it Zebra Backwards, called myself a stripe changer, and taught people how to stand out from the herd? And I thought this was hysterical and awesome.
Which it is.
And then I started my business, and every professional I admired and respected said to me, ooh, I don't think anybody's going to take you seriously and buy from you if you call yourself a stripe changer and name your company Zebra Backwards. And so I was really scared. I thought I was going to be hungry and unemployed. But guess what? People love it. And the few people that don't, they would have never bought from me anyway.
Exactly. Yes. And be smart with how you brand yourself. But you had an authentic idea, and you made sure that your name reflected that idea. So I love that. No, that's great advice. And ladies, take that advice. In fact, that was a great leadway into our next guest, who's going to talk to us about how to best brand yourself.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a great Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Bye. And by the way, guys, you can connect with all of our guests today by looking in our comments and finding their LinkedIn link. We have the LinkedIn link for every single one of our guests today in the comments. And real quick, before we move on to our next guest, whom I'm very excited about, we do have a question from Beth. When you say be a stalker, do you just Google the person? That's a great way to start.
That's part of it.
You can get directly onto their LinkedIn. And then you can ask around if you work in an industry where you might know some of the same people, ask around.
Yeah,
Look
maybe
around.
instead of stalking, I can say strategically looking.
Yeah, but Googling is the best way to start. That is the best way to start.
Googling the person's name, the profession can oftentimes help the business.
Right.
But yeah, look them up. If you don't want to be too creepy at first, you can look them up on LinkedIn because that's there for professional purposes for you to look.
Right.
And then you could look up on Facebook if you wanted to.
Google will take care of all that for you. That they will just name and city and stuff like that. Right.
Too.
Yeah. So now we're going to be bringing on Miss Sasha from Sasha Speaks. Hello. And let me tell you guys, so this is how I met Sasha. So when I moved to the Treasure Coast, I decided I've got to get out. I've got to network. I've got to meet other people in my area. So I did. And there were all of these women who, when they stood up to speak, sounded like they were pros and like they were in the middle of a commercial. And I loved it. And what I figured out was that Sasha was teaching them how to present themselves and how to best brand themselves.
I'm hearing double.
Oh, you are?
Are you echoing, Catherine?
Do you hear double?
I don't hear double right now.
I don't know, Sasha, dear. I don't know why you're hearing double. I'm sorry.
Sometimes I do. It just happens. That's weird.
Yeah, it's just the technology. It's okay. All right. But Miss Sasha was kind of the power behind all of this. And what she does for a living is she teaches, and you can go to sashaspeaks.com, by the way, to learn more about her. She teaches women, people, but primarily women, how to best present themselves. So Miss Sasha, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
When you brand yourself, do it in every way that you can, from your physical body. For example, I teach Technicolor, so I'm going to dress in Technicolor. I'm going to wear my brand. I'm going to speak my brand. I'm going to have it in my house. My car, in a way, is going to be brand. So when people see me, they think one word, Technicolor. That's the opposite of boring black and white. Don't sound like everybody else in black and white. Stand out visually, verbally, body language, and what people say about you.
Yes.
Get people to say what you want them to say. And sometimes look at your thank you notes. Listen to compliments. And sometimes people will say what you do better than you can. And then you adapt it. Here's an example. Michaela, I don't know if you ever heard about Ellen Contreras, but I was on her television show a year and a half ago. And she said, every time we finish a class of yours, we all say, we've been Sasha-fied. Now I started using it. I use it on my voicemail. I use it everywhere because she branded me from her point of view. That's worth millions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so true. And that's something that I've learned over time is to get other people. And even right now, I'm building out a product, right? So not very many people know about it yet, but I've reached out to other people and I've said, look at this and give me your feedback. And I've taken those words and put them on there. And now we're getting better response in marketing.
Just for example, I cannot say this, but I could say a client said this. So I'll put it in quotation marks. I said to him, how have I helped you? He said, Sasha took me from boring to brilliant. I cannot say I'm going to take you to boring, but my client can. So I put it in quotation marks and use it on a lot of my ads. You know,
I love that. So how do you apply that for the people that are not entrepreneurs like you and I, but people that are job seeking? How would you recommend that they apply that?
I think it's similar because it's what you do. Don't concentrate on your title. I'm an assistant. I'm secretary. I'm a marketing director. Do not concentrate and don't tell people your title.
Yes.
Tell them the benefit of your title. Said differently, what problem do you solve? What's your solution? I used to tell people I'm a professional speaker. Who cares? Who cares? So now I tell them I help them climb the Mount Everest of speaking publicly, whether they're giving a talk, a toast, a testimonial, even a eulogy. I help them understand and whatever problem they're feeling, we work it through from their feet up.
Yes.
Not from here up. Power starts at your feet when you own the space.
100%. You have to sit right. You have to hold your face a certain way.
I would change have to want to. You'll want to. You want to.
That's true.
Yes.
You want to do these things. You want to project your voice a certain way. For instance, I am super loud, so I have to watch my volume.
You're also quick.
I am. I do. I have to work on that. That's something I am still trying to master with this show is not speaking too quickly because unlike most Southerners, I rattle off.
That's right. And Catherine, it's not the strongest who's successful. It's one who's a little bit adaptable to whomever they're speaking. So for example, I would say, especially for an introvert, I say to introverts, when you're working the room, I know you can nod your head, but speak 10 to 15% more. If you're by asking questions, if you're an extrovert, 50% less. Less is more. I'm one of them. Catherine, you're one of them.
Yes, and it is so true. Listening will get you so far and will help you to understand your audience, whether it's a job interview or a potential client. Listen to them. Learn them. Every networking event that I go to on the Treasure Coast, I'm a little bit different because what I've learned is that the audience is different. At every one of these events, the audience is different. Listen to them, speak accordingly.
I give you a thumbs up. Here's my Sasha-ism. And it started when 30 years ago, when I wasn't networking, Michaela. Most out there 30, 35 years ago were men. You know, it was like an 80-20. It's really changed. It's easy to network in this century.
Mm-hmm.
Much
Yes.
easier. So 2 women, I overheard them saying, nobody works the room like Sasha. And I didn't know what I was doing because I was new to it.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me to speak to their networking group. Do you know what I did? I went home and said, what do I do? What do I do that's getting their attention? And I went back to my siblings. I'm one of 11 around the mahogany table. And I said, who got my attention when we were growing up? Why did they get my attention? Who's interesting? How come they're interesting? So then I wrote down 6 points that I do. And I realized here's the thing that I did. And then over the years, I put language to it. I didn't understand it intellectually, just intuitively. Here's what I put language to. This is my first Sashaism. It rules all of my networking. Every wedding, every party, every event, anywhere I go. It's more important to be interested than interesting. Because when you're interested, they find you interesting.
Yep.
Yes.
People want to be listened to. People want to know that they are interesting. So if you act interested in them, they're immediately going to be interested in you.
So
That is
Michaela,
very
here's
true.
the key. That's right. Ask interesting questions. You want to hear 2 dumb questions? These are dumb. Do I have your permission? Dumb questions. Don't ask this question. Are you still behaving? There's absolutely
Lord.
no value in that question.
No.
And don't ask, and don't ask, how's everything? Everything is too big.
Yes.
Yeah.
The quality of your answers depends upon the quality of your questions. So
Yes.
build your question base. Make curious, interesting, significant questions. Here, let's look at now. It's the end of the year. So I might say to Catherine, it's the end of the year. Tell me, in the last year, and then we could fill in the blank. What did you do that significantly changed? Fill in the blank again.
Right.
Whom did you meet that you said, oh my goodness, they're just having that experience. What did somebody teach you? So you fill it, ask them questions, because your goal in questions is to find their character, not their, are you still behaving? It's annoying question to me. So
Yes.
somebody asked me that recently. I said, ask me an interesting question.
Who actually
Because I'm
says that?
older.
That's a weird question. That's
Well,
very
haven't you
off-putting.
heard it?
They do.
No,
Yeah.
that's
See, Michaela,
It's no,
an
this-
usually
awesome
men.
question. Like
usually
men.
and yeah, there you go. It's those guys out there. I'm telling you,
So
I get weird ones.
Start your questions with who,
Mhm.
and gradually get to it, because this is your fertilizer for following up.
Yes. Yes.
It's
And
your
Sasha,
fertilizer.
I want to follow up to this because this ties into something that Kat, the last guest, and I are always talking about, is that when whether you're messaging a potential client, right, or you're seeking a job, don't immediately ask them for something, right? That's so off-putting. If I get a message from somebody, hey, you should do business with me, I don't even know you.
Do you know
Like,
what? When I hear the word should, do you know what I think?
What?
You should be a finger.
Yeah, the
That's-
finger's wagging.
that's
It's the
worst
finger
word to
wagging.
use.
I don't like the word should. And I'm
Networking
actually
is about giving. And the easiest thing to give is a genuine compliment.
Ooh.
You look great in it. Not that I like your dress. That's too much about me, but you look great in that dress. And sometimes I tease people because I'm a little bold. I say, your teeth are so beautiful. You probably floss a lot. Tell me about that.
That's super. Okay, for job seekers, don't go that specific. Okay.
I get weird real fast as a job seeker.
I don't
Right.
work with job seekers a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You
I
should.
don't. I work-
That should be a whole new clientele for Sasha. Is
Well,
working with job seekers.
Maybe, but it doesn't interest me yet. So I'm going to tell
Okay.
you that unless they're invested in themselves, I want job seekers who want to invest in themselves.
Right.
And so
And there
that's
are
why
those.
entrepreneurs
There are,
interested.
and I think too, though, on that note, I think it's so important to like you're saying, give a compliment, and that's a great way to start. But don't be creepy, right, Michaela? We always talk about this.
No.
Don't be creepy.
No, but here's another way
Do
of
it.
giving a compliment. Michaela, hold up your jewelry. Hold up your jewelry. So I might say, Michaela, that your necklace interests me. Now, here's the part that you want to know. Is there a story behind that? So if it's intriguing, so the part that is going to get her to talk, is there a story behind that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And may I share something that happened when I was doing a class? I was doing a class and I walked down the aisle teaching people this, and I see a woman whose name is Nilla, Nilla. And I say, for example, let me ask Nilla, your name is very different. Is there a story behind that? Oh, a smile comes. And I give her the mic, and she stands up and she says, my great-grandfather came to America and invented the vanilla wafer.
That's
And
so
she
cool.
said, then my grandfather started it, and then sold it to Nabisco, and they called it vanilla wafer. And the audience roared. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So ask that question. Is there a story? Is there a story behind your name? Is there a story behind your shoes? Something interesting. Get the attention off of you and make them, oh, let me show you. Here's what I do when I do the class. See, I believe everybody has an invisible around their neck. And it says, make me feel important. So take that off. So when I do workshops, I give everybody one of these from a company. And I have them wear it around for a whole day. Then the next day I have them take it off and see how their peers approach them. Everybody needs to feel important. So that's an invisible part.
That's interesting.
I
like
really
that.
enjoy that.
This is not mine. I heard this from Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She never used it. I took her words and made a visual.
I like that though. I like the visual element because I think it helps people to see
strong.
the practicality. Yes.
And they get
absolutely.
goosebumps.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, Sasha. So this is our Women's in Business episode, right? And you work with a lot of ladies out there. I know some of your clients. They're phenomenal. So what is your advice? Different advice do you give women than you give to men? What are some of the main differences?
I say to women, own your space. If a man is very tall, move back 1 inch and put your foot out so that you're not looking up like that. I mean, that's a little thing, but own your space. And for men, give compliments, but certainly nothing that can be taken sexually. Women don't stand, men don't stand like in the fig leaf position. You know, it's like, don't stand this, especially when they're speaking. Women, when you're talking, never use gestures below your waist. They're taken as negatives. Use it from the waist level up. Not, see, I'm not on the full camera, but you say, I'm really honest. And you're down in the negative department. Yes. In terms of speaking, women, this is very strong. Get out of the habit of saying, yeah. Say yes. Women use full sentences. You're right, Catherine. Michaela, I agree with you. Instead of yeah. It's slang and it cuts your credibility. Full sentences. Use people's names in it. That and lower your voice. If you have a Twinkie, here's men have an advantage. They usually have a lower voice. So don't talk in a Twinkie voice coming out of your nasal. I want you to think back and low. Lower voices carry more authority.
That's true. And I want you to know, Sasha, when I started laughing, so what you just reminded me of, there's the old movie Singing in the Rain, you know, and there's that scene that lady goes, I can't stand it. That's all I could hear. But that's so true. It's so true. The lower voices do carry more authority.
I teach people how to lower their voices by getting rid of the nasal, moving back, and
the back of your throat.
When you leave a message, when you leave a message on somebody's voicemail, lower your voice rehearse it. Don't sound like that you don't know what, and get rid of that slang. And I will tell you, you'll be taken more seriously.
It's so true.
Quickly.
Yes. And even in your writing, even in your writing, you need to, so when you are writing, you don't want to use conjunctions. Okay. You want to use the full word. So say you are, not your. So if you're putting a post on LinkedIn, make sure that you say you, things like you are, they are, that type of thing.
That is the biggest mistake. Most people put Y-O-U-R.
Oh, that too. Oh my gosh. Yes. And no grammar. Grammarly. Grammarly is a big tip of the day. Use Grammarly.
So good.
Yes. And Sasha, my last question for you, because this is one we're asking everyone today. And I'm sure you've seen some doozies over the years with the career that you have. What is the most ridiculous thing that someone has said to you about professional women? A misnomer that you have heard, or an insult that you have heard that was just completely ridiculous?
It goes back to the one that happens all the time. You make it a suggestion and an idea, and it's not taken. I learned this when I was in my 30s. And then some guy says, you know what I think we ought to do? And so now I say, you just took my idea to the next level. I want to thank you for that. So it's stealing people's ideas.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's not good. Well, thank you so much, Sasha. I had so much fun. I think we've all been Sasha-fied today, which we really appreciate.
Thank you.
And you know, we're having another one of our Treasure Coast sisters join us next. We're going to have Miss Paola Torre join us. We're so excited to bring her on. And bye to Sasha. And again, if you want to connect to any of our lovely ladies, please look in through the comments. We do have all their LinkedIn links. And before we move on to Paola, I do want to put up an image real quick, since I can tell Nina is back with us now, the image about women that you should know. So get ready to do a screenshot, because I have put together a list of some women that you absolutely must follow and that you absolutely must reach out to and get to know if you can. So there we go. Oh, there we go. So these are, in fact, we just talked about Ellen Contreras. She's absolutely wonderful. Susan Straub has been on the show with us and co-hosted. All of these women are absolutely phenomenal. Multiple people on this screen have been on the show, but all of these women are experts. They are phenomenal, and they put out content that will help you grow, not only as a professional, but as a person. So I highly, highly recommend all of these women. All right, let's get them off of here, and let's get Miss Beautiful Paola on here with us. There she is.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. So this is another one of my Treasure Coast sisters. She lives by the beach too.
Oh, lovely. I've been by the beach once so far. I've lived here for 3 months, but I really like it. Yeah.
It's beautiful here. There's so many gorgeous beaches. We'll have to do like a beach tour at some point. Yeah. All the way up the coast.
Actually, I've been to, now that you mentioned that, the Jetty Beach too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's real. We're just trying to make everyone jealous right now, guys, is what we're doing, since this is a national show. Yeah. You're welcome, Michaela, who lives in Waco.
Locked in Waco.
Oh my goodness. But thank you so much for showing up today. I was so You're welcome. I was so excited. And guys, by the way, I loved this response. So I'm known for kind of ambushing people and making them be on my show. And Paola, I messaged her. She goes, yeah, sure, let's do it. Of course, the most willing spirit. It was so cute. I loved it.
Brave. So very brave of you.
Very brave.
We had recently gotten into like a really short conversation where she mentioned her podcast, and I was just like, you have a podcast? And then she's like, she sent me the message, like, can you be on the podcast? I'm like, of course. I love it.
Love it. It's fun. It's a fun thing to do. It's just one of those.
I like anything that's not, I like anything that's relatable, and it's like casual conversation, and it's what people are really thinking. There's not scripted things. There's not, this is how that goes, and this is what you say. And it's like, are you really at home thinking on this? You've been locked up for almost a year. Like we're all kind of thinking the same things right now. Nobody wants scripted stuff.
Yeah, no, we've put it out there. We've had episodes about COVID and overcoming COVID, and we have just put out the feelings and all the stuff that we have to say. That's exactly what we're about. And that's actually why I wanted to have you on, because I liked it, because when I met her at at a networking event, she was just bold. Just, here's what I have to say. This is what I think. I have these questions.
So that's my new goal in life right now.
You should. Yeah. Just put yourself out there. So let's talk about your origin story. First of all, because you have a very interesting business that you've gotten into, and you have a lot going on. You're an entrepreneur, and you've relocated your whole business. So let's talk about that. Tell us about you.
Yeah, I've hit the reset button quite a few times. Sometimes I look at my resume and I'm like, I've spent a long amount of time in all these different jobs, because that's what they were, jobs, but it's all different industries. So I'm like all over, from food imports and distributing to, medical, to banking, to my last one before here. I worked for a big credit card company. I didn't last there because it was super corporate, and that's where I realized the inner me is not meant for corporate America. But I tried it again, and that's where I was just, I did that one whole 6 months. I was like losing my mind. I felt things I never felt before. And that's what
makes you aggravated. I did that too. I worked at Citibank early in my career, and I was like, it just made me murderous. And then I went right over into debt settlement and helped people not pay them.
There you go. That's the way to get revenge.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. I couldn't stay long enough there to even think of that.
Yeah, I tell you. And I don't hate them. I'm going to side note that. They were not a horrible employer, but it was just like, ugh. It was just soul sucking.
This company, well, before I went to there, I spent 7 years in a brewery restaurant, well known. Cool. And I liked it. And it was like, I liked what I did there because I did my job. I worked very well with the owners, but it was like, that's it. You can do this and just do this. But the other me is like, do I want to just do this forever? I can if I want to, but it's like, I'm running out of stuff to do. What more can I do here? So that's when I took the leap and it was not corporate there. It was very independent. Like, we had the understanding, this is what your job is. This is what we do. We're all a big, merry family. It's great. But like I said, you run out of things to do and you're just like, I'm doing the same exact thing every day, like every day. This is kind of getting boring. So then I had the opportunity to get back into corporate America. I don't know why, or what, it was just a hard company to get into from what I was told. Apparently there were 17 seats they were filling and 3,000 applicants. And somehow I made it to one of those 17.
Congratulations.
So it's like, when you get into something like that, you're like, this must be like the golden ticket.
So how did you go from that though to what you're doing now?
Because that golden ticket pushed me off the edge. It was like, the benefits were great. And they sold me on that. I was just like 180 vacation hours a year. Yeah. That's like a month. But in reality, when you do the job and you're there and you hate it so much, it becomes like 180 mental health hours that you need to have. Like, they're not vacation anymore. It's more like, if I don't take this vacation day today, I'm just not going to make it. Like, it just got really bad. It was so micromanaged. And I came from a place where I was not micromanaged to 1,000% micromanaged. And I'm like, all right, this is it. Don't even remember how old I was. It was like 3 years ago, maybe. So I'm like, I'm past my 30s. What was I then? 34, 33 or something. I'm like, I'm not at a place right now where you're going to come and start telling me what time, to log out, what time I can use the bathroom, what time, like, this is, I have the discipline to be an employee.
That's a lot of control to have over employees.
Those companies are out there. Trust me.
That's alarming.
There were people there. Yeah, there were people there doing this for 12 years, 20 years. And I'm like, how? Like, you're completely brainwashed at this point.
Yeah.
You're not joking. That's what I don't know how you would function. Just brainwashed.
I couldn't do it. And then I just literally, I'm not one to really have much anxiety symptoms and stuff like that. I think I'm okay handling stress, but I was at the point where there were things happening that I'm like, why is my lip quivering? Like, stop. I'm not doing that. Or why is my eye twitching? And I remember feeling this dreadful feeling on like month number 5, where I'm like, all right, I can just cry right now. And my husband had his book bag ready to go to work. He used to carry his laptop in there. He turns around and he's just like, that's how you feel? Like, you can't go. Like, you need to stop. Like, whatever it is you need to figure out, like, you just can't. You can't show up to that. And I'm like, all right, that was the okay that I needed. And I took a week off. And in that week, I got my insurance license, which is something I wanted to do for a very long time. And somehow I got derived into this corporate position that was sold to me and forgot that I wanted to do that. So I used up those 180 hours in a week or whatever I can use in a week to get that license. And I was anticipating this, like I'm going to get this, this license. I need this now. That as soon as it was done, I went straight to take the test and passed it on the first shot. And I was like, all right, I still don't know what I'm going to do right now, but now this is the way out, I have a good friend of mine who was also in the same business. And that was my first phone call. It was like, I just did this. I need to get out of this. I don't know what I'm doing. Where do I go? And he's just like, come to the office. And I didn't even know he had an office at that time. So it was just like, wait, you don't do this from home anymore? So I went to the office.
And I want to pause real quick because I want to emphasize again, guys, network.
Yeah.
Reach out to people doing what you want to do, or even if you don't know anybody doing what you want to do, reach out to somebody, find a mentor, find someone who can tell you what in the world you're doing.
The difference.
And I spent a short amount of time with him, but I credit everything that I know because he gave me that option. Like, look, you can stick with us, work with us as in the agency, or I can try to show you whatever I can, whenever I can, and you do it independently. And I was like, well, what about both? Let me just stick around, learn what I can. He goes, stick around, do what you can, and when you're ready to go, you go. And that's exactly what I did. I worked with them, learned as much as I could. I went into the Medicare field. Insurance is interesting. Yeah. I recently had a conversation with one of the girls that we network with, and it's just like, you won't find too many insurance agents that just do all kinds of insurance. Usually you'll find people who stick to like, these are the things that I do, because there's just so much behind it. And my husband's in insurance, but he's not on the sales side. He's on the claim side. So we'll sit there and I'm just like, you know what? I like health insurance better than what you do. I don't need to see the denials and the why are they paying it. Like I'm happy on this side. Medicare for me has become more of a service than a sale. I can tell you every one of my clients, they know me for anything. They call me sometimes for things that are not even Medicare related because they just need somebody to answer a question, or they just want to, I get some that on WhatsApp every morning. There's one in particular that sends me these good morning messages every day, and I'm like, okay, I'm still, there. It's you build these relationships that are, a lot of times people are lonely, or they have kids but they're not around, or they just need someone to talk to, or they have 1,000 questions and there's no resource to answer.
I think that's so amazing because so many people get into sales just because they hear the commissions and that's all they hear, and they forget what's behind it, especially with something like health insurance that's so important to people.
That people who are like, no one thinks about Medicare when you're our age. Like you don't wake up in the morning, you're like, all right, when I turn 65, I'll have this. You're not worried about that right now. Nobody's teaching you, nobody's mentioning it. So when you get there, you still don't know much. There's people enrolling in it. They're like, what do I have? Like, how does this work? And so that's where I'm like, okay, I got to kind of help you find your way and understand that this is what it is. And if that doesn't work, I'm a broker. So I give myself the opportunity to offer you whatever it is that is going to work for you. It's not like the one thing and that's all you're going to do. And it helps me with building my relationship, because I'm still the go-to person for these people. And it's wonderful. I don't feel like I'm selling. And that was the main thing. I did sales for a very long time. And there's always the sales pitch. And there's always, who are you looking for? And I went into the bank the other day and I was surprised that at this bank, it was to open a business account. Now I just moved to the Treasure Coast, bought a house. My husband has a business. I have a business. My dad is renting a unit, so that's another business account. And this person that sat down at the bank just opened one business account. And all I kept sitting, because I worked in banking for so long, I'm always like, what are they going to sell me on? I'm like, I just walked away, and you had so much potential to find out more about the situation and, get so much stuff and it just opened one.
So again, guys, listening, that's what to take away from this. Listen and learn. Like Sasha was saying, learn about the other person and show interest in them. Michaela has always talked about the importance and the psychology behind this. And the other thing I want to stop and kind of recognize real quick is that, like we talked about earlier in the show, you found your passion. You found something that feeds you.
Explain it. And it's funny you mentioned that. I recently, someone said something, might have been Oprah. I'm always following all these people. And it said something about if you do what you're find your passion in what you're doing. Because if you find something that you think you're passionate about and you start doing it and treating it as a job, you're going to lose your passion in it.
That's right.
Because it's going to become a job. And I can tell you one misconception about being an entrepreneur, working independently or whatever, is that you're not taking work off the table for yourself. It's more, like My days are longer. Some days just admin work that is not really bringing the money in, but it's things I have to do, you know, or, you know, like just certain things. It'll be 7 or 8 o'clock and I'm like still on my computer. And believe it or not, Facebook is part of my business, you know, where I'll see people on Facebook like, oh, crazy. Yeah, but it's part of my business. So I have to be on Facebook. I
tell people that. Do you know how much of my life is LinkedIn? Like, and getting on Facebook groups and all that. And then I do appearances, right? And I go on other people's shows and I do networking appearances and I do all of that. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it.
The thing. Like, I know that I'm working harder for myself because at the end of the day, granted,
it's a lot.
You can take your day off when you want to, but just know there's no money coming in on that day.
Right.
You know, like,
and that's what I tell people. I don't have real days off anymore. I'm always checking email. I'm always checking LinkedIn because that's my lifeline, right? If I don't respond, you know, and I do occasionally take a full day off. It does. I think. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. No, I didn't know you're still going.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Something for a while. No, you're fine. I can wait. You're good. Go on.
Okay. But the one thing too that I always hear people say, and you'll know this as an entrepreneur, is people are always, I'm going to have all this time and I'm going to be able to do all of this. And I tell people, if you really want to get a business up and going, okay, you're talking no sleep for months. And it's not that you're working into the night. It's that as soon as you're done working, you go, oh, I still have this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And you don't sleep for months. You are an insane person after a few months. Yeah. It is not normal. I remember calling Michaela, and at one point she stopped and she goes, Sissy, when was the last time you slept? I was like, it's been a while.
It's funny you say that. I don't sleep much. I go to sleep late, and sometimes in the morning I'm like dying, trying to wake up, and I'll think to myself, why did I stay up last night again? Like, what was it that I was doing at 1 a.m. when the rest of the world? Sometimes that's just the time that, I'm at home. I have 3 kids. Way different age groups and different needs, and it's like they all need me all day, all the time. So I'm, between that, I'm like, all right, at a certain time, everyone's sleeping. So now this is like when I really wake up. And by the time I'm ready to go to sleep, I'm like, I'm not really ready, but it's 2 or 3 in the morning. I probably should,
Right. 100%. 100%. Oh, and real quick, we just had a comment about this. Nina, if you could please post the link that I sent you for Paola. You posted the wrong Paola in the links. So nobody connect to that lady. No, I'm just kidding. You can connect to her if you want, but please put in the one that I sent, Paola Torre, Torre. But no, you're absolutely right. So starting a business, it's a lot of work. You have to get the insurance. There's all these little steps that you have to take and all these things that people don't think of. You're not just like, for me, I don't just recruit. I have all this other stuff to do. And it's a lot. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're starting a business. So Michaela, what were you going to say on that?
What I hear inherent since you got on, and since we've all been talking, y'all talked about passion, but what I've heard throughout your story is fulfillment. That you started with this career that was monotonous, and it was you were just drudging, and then you found a career and you were just anxious. Bless your heart, just anxiety hits you. And now you use the word brainwashed, and now you found something that actually fulfills you. And I think that's something that's, and then Catherine, you were talking about it too, being fulfilled by what you do, even though it is so much work, you do it because it fulfills you. And I think if we're going to talk about passion, that it's important to recognize that fulfillment. And that's what's so important about finding what you're passionate about. That's the psychology aspect that I can include while we're talking about passion, is the fulfillment that it brings.
Yes.
To you as a person.
And I think that's so important, is finding your passion. And if you want to start a business, first of all, please do not do something like an MLM. Guys, don't do that stuff. You're not a real, you're not a real business owner. Please. It's sales, and it's a good way to make a living. But if you're looking
it's not easy.
No, and it's not easy. It's not. And it's very difficult sales. It's a lot of money. You could be spending that money on a business that's actually yours, where you have control, where you control the merchandise or the brand or whatever it is. And it could really, truly be yours, where you're not kicking profits up to somebody else. Okay. So just something to keep in mind, just actually create a brand that is yours. So before we go, I want to thank you. I told you this 20 minutes would fly, right? It goes whoosh.
It did. So I keep saying now that I heard Sasha and being Sasha, she said stop saying and I've said it twice. So I gotta remember,
isn't it?
Yes.
Say, yes, Catherine, I heard you.
Yes, Catherine.
What I do is I actually I'm sorry, Catherine, go on. That's all right.
So the questions I want to ask you that we're going to be asking all of our ladies today. What is a myth about women in business that you want to bust? Or something idiotic that was said to you that you want to bust?
Well, I have two things and they're probably opposite. One of them, the first thing that came to mind, I remember when I had this office manager position, and there was one comment that was said to me that was, how was it put? Something in regards to, well, in your position, you're not really bringing money into the business. So I just thought there, but you're not, you know how many jobs I do here? You know how much money I'm saving you? I have about 6 jobs. 6 people would get paid to do what I do here. So maybe I'm not the price tag on the menu or anything. However, you can't replace me. And that's me.
Right.
You can put someone 100%. In my seat, but you
Amen
can't replace me. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. And it's something that I'm proud of, because I'm always thinking, and I try to teach my kids all the time, whatever you do, it doesn't matter where you work, what you're doing, leave that impression that when you're not there, they know you're not there, you know? So that's one thing. And on the other hand, it was actually funny when it's kind of like makes you think different. Now, what I do now, it's a business where you see a lot of men, and there's a lot of people. I mean, it's like real estate agents, at least 5. So there's lots of people out there that do what I do, but it's what's going to set me apart from them. And when I first started with that friend of mine that I told you that kind of pulled me in, one thing that he told me that was completely the opposite was, well, listen, when you're doing, so we started working on the phones. I started working on the phones, basically phone sales, but it's Medicare plans. And he's like, you're a woman. Most people will not say no to your voice on the phone. So I was like, He goes, and that's a fact. If you're a woman in sales and you're on phone sales, you get less no's than a man on the phone.
That is so true. I've seen that over the years.
So it was both like, I'm like, it's ironic. Well, no, I'm not if it's ironic or maybe ironic, like with the direction of where my career ended up. I'm like, all right, I think I'm going in the right way here, Yes.
And I think too that, and I love that, by the way. I think that's a really important thing to remember. So on that note, I just want to say real quick that I think it's important to remember that, ladies, we do have advantages. We do. And some of them are kind of ridiculous because it's things that aren't exactly right, but it's certain perceptions. Use those to your advantage. Use that ability. Like she said, for some reason, people don't tell us no as much. So you're going to be great in sales. Use little things like that as kind of cheat sheets. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Paola. Everybody connect with her. We did drop a correct link for her. So everybody please connect with Paola. We'll say bye for now.
Bye.
There we go. And excuse me. And real quick, I want to put up that image one more time of the women that you need to connect to, that you need to know, just so that you guys, again, get ready to screenshot. These women put out amazing content, and they are also incredible people just to get to know. So definitely reach out to any of them. And now for and also real quick, before we move on, I was asked by one of our viewers who has watched the show for quite a while now, Lisa Nizer, to please mention. So we just talked to an entrepreneur. So if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're thinking of being an entrepreneur, one of the things that you need to understand is taxes. They're a nightmare. They are horrible. But Lisa Nizer will teach you for only $97 the things that you need to know as a business owner, including the best deductions and things like that. So definitely get on her website, takingontaxestogether.com. So again, that's takingontaxestogether.com. Register for her upcoming class. It is amazing. All right, so let's bring on our last guest, Miss Jan Barlow. Is Jan with us? Let's see. Oh, nope, I don't see Jan. Oh no, we're missing Jan.
Oh no,
she bailed on us.
Excited to meet Jan. I've not met her in
Oh
person.
no. Okay, well, we'll see if
later.
Yeah, maybe we'll see if she gets to hop on. She's very busy. She might have gotten stuck on a call, something like that.
In the meantime, I had a question for you, unless you wanted to.
No, go ahead. Let's do it.
So you've been asking everybody what their what their stories are. I'm wondering what stories you have.
Oh, the myth busting and the idiotic things I've had said to me.
Yes.
I was kind of along the lines of Paola's story. I was once told, you won't be able to negotiate this as well because you're a woman. That's not a skill that women have. And I want to tell the conclusion of that story to prove how stupid that was.
Yes,
so what I did,
conclusion.
I went in, negotiated that contract so well that when we walked away from it, we got the whole client list, all of it, and they got nothing.
Yeah, you did.
They got a useless website.
Oh, I'm so proud.
That was it. And it was just so stupid to me.
Well,
Like,
to me, there's so many people who are like, well, women just always have to be right. I'm like, okay, so then don't say that we're not good at negotiating. Right. How do you think that we get there?
Yeah, that. You know what? That is kind of a catch-22, isn't it? It's like, well, you can't always be right and be bad at negotiating. That's not a thing.
You know what? That's okay. Let them continue to think that we're bad at negotiating because we're going to surprise them.
So I'm going to pass on a great piece of advice that I got years ago from a friend of mine's mother, who is an entrepreneur herself. She actually married a man who had a strong business, took it over and made it even stronger. And she told me, and she's blonde and she's beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous. And she told me, let them think that you're stupid. She goes, no, and she seriously, she said, you don't need to insist on being right. You don't need to insist on letting everybody think you're smart. Let them think you're stupid. Because then you're going to swoop in and get everything that you need and want, and you are going to succeed. So ladies, that is my biggest piece of advice to you on this show. Let them think you're stupid. Let them think that you're less than you are. Go around them and just keep on climbing that ladder above them. Seriously, that it will work every single time. And I think we now have Jan. All right, let's get her on here.
Yay!
Here she is. She's joining us.
Hey, Jan.
Hello. So Jan, you guys, is absolutely amazing. She's does a lot of work in HR. She's going to be doing an HR Disruptor Summit, at which I will be speaking about the problems with the ATS and how we're going to fix it. And also mental health in the workplace and all of that. We will be talking about that as well, because as I have posted on LinkedIn, I do have bipolar disorder, and I actually think it's one of my superpowers. So I actually use it accordingly. So we will be talking about mental health in the workplace and all of that as well. So Jan, let's start with your origin story. This is how we've been starting with everyone today. Let's hear how you got into the amazing field that you're in and the amazing work that you're in.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's so great to be with you and Michaela today, and I'm excited to be here with some amazing women. I think that we all have a story of transition when we think about our origin story, and mine started in 2007 when I was at the height of my career in business development and in ophthalmology, and I created my job there. And was just having a great time working in my strengths. Then we lost our FDA approval for our second generation laser. So talk about from 0 to 100. If you don't have a second generation of FDA approval, you might as well, you're dead in the water, right? You have nothing to sell. So I saw that train, like literally got the call, Jan, you can't go on that appointment at University of Miami to sell a laser because we don't have approval. Okay, so you're sitting there in the coffee shop going, okay, you don't have to be real smart to realize that this train is going to be ending in about 6 months. Like, you're going to have to find out, like, are you going to sink or swim? Because if you have nothing to sell, they don't need you, right? So it ended up that I literally, synchronicity, I get a call from a friend of mine.
Photobomb. I'm sorry.
I love it. Little baby kitties.
For those listening to the podcast that can't see, my cat has just photobombed us.
I love it. I love it. So
anyway, go ahead, Jan.
That we, synchronicity got into play. I ended up getting hired by our biggest competitor went to work for them, vetted the manager I was going to work with. It was a merger and acquisition. So, those are tumbling times, just a lot of activity going on. Was hired for my strengths. So nobody had to micromanage me. They said, Jan, you already know what you're doing, just run with it. 2 months later, changed managers. So then I was put in a different position, and it wasn't in my strengths, but being who I am, I tried to fit a round peg in a square hole, and just thought maybe I should just try harder. And that literally led me to adrenal burnout. My hair started to fall out. My palms started to peel. I mean, literally crash and burn. My life then really went downhill. It was personally and professionally, I had to start over again. I couldn't keep on going. So that led to my transition. And then I started Better Job Fit, because I wanted to make sure that people weren't placed in that, in harm's way when it comes to being put in a position of your strengths versus failure. So literally that drove me to want to champion for employees and for individuals. When you're in transition or considering transition, you have to become a self-master, right? You have got to be prepared, because the people on the other side, the quote unquote interviewers, they don't know you from Adam's house cat. They're looking at your resume. They have no idea how to utilize your strengths. So it's going to be up to you to know it like the back of your hand, to feed that information to those people and tell them how to utilize your strengths, right?
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes, 100%. And Michaela, you look like you had something you wanted to say about what Jan was to say.
Honestly, I'm just so glad. First of all, it's so good to just meet you in person finally. Hi. I was just very involved is what was happening for me, Catherine, to be entirely honest with you. I was involved in listening to her, because you're bringing up so many great points that I had not considered before. So that was my absorbing face that you caught on to.
It makes you look so smart.
She was listening. She was engaged. Okay. She was engaged.
That's right.
That's right. She was engaged.
Actively listening.
That's so funny. And I love that too, because you got into your field for similar reasons that Kat Breet, who was on the show earlier, got into the business, and similar reasons that I did. You saw a problem and you went, oh no, we got to fix this. This isn't how it ought to be. Yeah, this isn't it. This is just ridiculous.
This is broken.
Yeah. And one thing that you and I talk about a lot is exactly that. What is broken? And then specifically how to fix it. And one of the things
sideways and get detracted on shame and blame and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Give your 3-minute sling and snot and getting upset about it. And let's get into solution mode. Okay. What next? Right. We got to put this.
Yes. And first of all, guys, for those of you that are job seeking, that's exactly where you are. You're in, I know it's a fight or flight. I know that it's stressful and it's crazy. And you can blame so many things. You can blame COVID. You can blame slow hiring managers. You can blame discrimination. But ultimately, you have to find a way to get through it. And you can't focus on that blame game. It doesn't do any good. Michaela has talked about several times on the show about, is it anxiety and excitement are from the same place in the brain,
Yes.
Michaela? Is that right? All right. So do your spiel real quick.
My spiel,
On that.
I get to do a spiel. Yes, anxiety and excitement are very similar physiological reactions. You get heightened by both of them. And it's basically just that what the brain's perception is what changes it. And I'm trying to think right now off the top of my head, the physiological, because you have that cortisol boost when you have stress on you. Excitement, it tends to be dopamine or one of the other neurotransmitters like serotonin, but it's still that from the same place in the brain. And so you have that excitement and that physiological, the heart rate comes up and you get sort of jittery for both of them. So yeah, you can. Yeah. And
so keeping that in mind, is you just need to change the anxiety to excitement. And one of the things is, Paola talked about this, Kat talked about it, Jan's hinted around it. Don't let your resume define you, okay? Don't let your title, Sasha even talked about this, don't let your title define you, okay?
let what your abilities define you. So, I mean, look at Maggie and Sammy earlier in the show. They're in drone flying, professional drone flying, which is so cool. Still, I'm still very stuck on that, how cool that is. But it's so amazing. And they didn't have backgrounds in that. One of them was a claims adjuster, and the other one is in staffing, like me. And they're both into drone flying, and they have skills that led them down that way. Let your skills define you and get creative, right, Jan? We were just talking about this. If something's not working, if your job search isn't working, get creative. And that may mean going a whole other direction.
And that is so true. And a lot of people, first of all, and Kayla and I talked about this when we first were on the phone. It's called self-perception theory. We cannot, it is proven, okay, not woo-woo, proven, that we as human beings cannot be objective about ourselves. We all have a story that plays in our head, right? We all have a history that plays in our head. So we can't be objective about ourselves. It's just impossible. You've got to create a mix of objective science, artificial intelligence, right? And that self-awareness, high self-awareness and introspection. You got to, this self-discovery stuff, we've moved on. Unless you're right into self-mastery, that you're not going to get very far, right? So the real work is that self-mastery piece. But you have to see, like I've shared with both of you ladies, I work with veterans and foster care alumni. So this young man getting ready for college, he's a 95% match to a graphic designer and a correctional officer. Who in the Sam heck would think that the same job match pattern is the same for a correctional officer and a graphic designer? You wouldn't.
That is interesting. No, that's very interesting.
I want to know the 95% of what I don't know about myself. We only know 5%, right? You mean to tell me that you're willing to bet the farm on 5%? I want to go and find out the 95% of what I'm a match to. Again, how do I take an objective match as a project manager? Well, I've never worked as, and that's right, as people say, well, that wasn't my title. I've never worked in it. Well, you probably weren't called a project manager, but let's look at the projects you were working on. And then you end up finding that person facilitated, 5 different departments for the project. Okay, that's what a project manager does.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, titles are not everything. Skills and abilities and personality.
Yeah, and you got to really look at it that way. But we're stuck in that programming, that false sense of belief system of the C drive, and we're not looking at it differently. And we're still playing this same game of, go, update your LinkedIn, update your resume. Unless you are thinking differently, that it won't matter what you write on there. You got to first think differently, right?
Yes, 100%. I completely agree. And I was told something so interesting a while back, and it was that, especially with executives. So that's a very niche thing, right? You have to be a very big picture person. You have to be entirely focused on results and problem solving and nothing else. No blame game, none of that. It's a completely different type of position. And so people that have been in management are often not very good executives because those are very separate skill sets. I was having this conversation with someone recently, and it's something that I guess I knew, but I hadn't really placed together. But it's very true. So there's a big difference between, deal with the employees manager, upper management, director level, and then C-suite. These are very different personalities. Some people can do at least passable at all of those. For me, I'm a decent manager. I'm not the best, not going to lie. I'm okay, not great. I'd probably say, I don't know, maybe good. I don't know, but it's not my strength. And I know it needs to be done. It's just not my natural strength. My natural strength comes from the exec side. And it's just how my brain works. It doesn't make me better or anything like that. That's just how my brain works. And so I think, like you said, self-mastery, right? Understanding not only who you are and what you have, but what that means and what you do with it.
That's huge. It's one thing to possess knowledge of your skill set, but you got to have the connective intelligence and the next step to look at the company, to be able to ask questions. Like like I tell people, I am a fanatic about NLP, meaning if you're not learning neuro-linguistic programming, you flipping need to up your human communications game. Okay. Yep. Because as they say, NLP in sales is essential. Well, if you're going for an interview, I call them discovery sessions. It's still, you're selling yourself, right? You got to do your part and really be the one controlling that conversation and being able to ask the right questions. So not only knowing what your skill sets are and being confident in it, you got to look at that job and then ask in those important questions about that position,
right?
And then insert, well, that's great, I did such and such, and start creating the stories behind those skill sets that connect to that job, because they're taking notes in what you say, hopefully, right?
Hopefully.
So now when they go back, and you can attest to this, Catherine, you're taking notes during the interview with the candidate. So now when you're going for your debrief with the manager, hiring manager, whoever, you're going to have one more step of intimacy or knowledge about that person, right? Than what you would have before, because you're writing down what they're telling you.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So if you're taking it to that next level of self-mastery and being able to feed that interviewer information on how you connect and your skill set connects to that job, this is a flipping no-brainer, because now when they're looking at the other candidates, they're not going to have that level of familiarity, right, with that person, because you're connecting the dots for them and making it easy, right? As I always say, don't make people work hard to hire you. Come on.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work well.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was wonderful to have you on, Jan. Guys, please connect to Jan. Her link is in the comments. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I will talk to you very soon. In fact, I think we have a scheduled call tomorrow. So
we love you. Thank you.
Take care, Jan. Bye. So we're wrapping up our little show here. I think Michaela and I are both tired. We're both got the zombie eyes going, just kind of staring at
at least one thing I wanted to say about that last segment, if you don't mind, before we wrap up.
Yeah.
At least one. There are a few, but we'll see how we have time. But I know we're talking a lot about the self-mastery and the self-awareness. And I wonder if you and I could just take a minute to give people some tips on how to reach self-mastery and self-awareness. And I'll actually let
you start. Let's do it.
Because I can. This is a passion bone of mine. Self-awareness is something I'm
sorry. Wait, what was that term that you just used?
The passion bone. Is it? You never heard that?
I have not. Anyway, we're gonna skip that. We're gonna have a whole separate conversation about passion bones. But go ahead.
I had some brain injuries. I could be mixing some things up in my head. Anyhow, but it's something I'm passionate about. This self-awareness fulfills me, and it's something I work a lot on with my clients. And the first thing I was thinking in my head while Jan was talking is well, where could I really start with telling someone how to giving a little bit of advice or suggestions for how to start finding self-awareness? And the thing that I came to, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, Catherine, is to first explore what you're scared of exploring about yourself.
Yep.
What scares you the most to understand about yourself? I guess that would be the first thing.
That's very important. That's very important. And for me, one of the scariest things to come to understand was the fact that I have bipolar disorder and that there is nothing to be done about that. And so I just have to deal with it. And in my head, I was like, okay, great. So I'm a crazy person. And I have to deal with that. And not that that's the right way to think, but I'm just saying in my head, I said, okay, so how do I use this? So kind of the next step then for me was, okay, I understand this and I am accepting this about myself. It is a fact. There is nothing to be done about it, but I can work with it. I can't work around it, but I can work with it. And so I learned to do that. And you and I have had infinite discussions about that, but it's something that's important. So, and I know somebody else who has a severe brain injury, who has learned to work with it and to cooperate with that. But it's also created some very interesting side effects. So he can be more understanding. He also, because he's used to making little schedules for everything, is remarkably organized and can organize anything and work quicker because of that than basically anybody else I know. So I think I think discovering something that's scary, it stinks at first, but then when you discover how to work with it, it's awesome. And it's really exciting.
You've been really open on this show, Catherine, about your own struggles, with mental health, and to sort of join you in that. My presenting concern is anxiety. I have really horrendous anxiety that I've had to learn to manage over the years. And the first part of that is the awareness, you're right, Catherine, of the acceptance of this is who I am. And for those of you listening / watching right now, certainly it doesn't have to be something as big as what we're talking about, like bipolar disorder or anxiety disorders. It can be things very, very simple, like maybe you don't want to branch out of your position. You know, earlier we were talking about the fight or flight response. I want to throw in there that there's also the freeze response. That we've talked about, people wanting to stay in their positions, and that's what I see as the freeze response. So maybe looking critically at yourself, sort of, maybe not critical, that may not be the right word, but to just sort of step out of yourself and look at yourself as objectively as possible and say, I'm a little curious about what's going on here. And honestly, that's all it has to be, is just curiosity. And I think that's what I want to say about self-awareness and self-mastery, is being curious about yourself. I think that's where it starts, and that's an easier place to start.
100%. I think that's an important takeaway. I think it's also important to remember we've busted a lot of myths. Women do negotiate, right? Women do ask for raises more than men. Women tend to be more successful in their fields. They're also the first ones to volunteer for things. So ladies, you're going to hear a lot of negative nonsense out there, whether it's you can't get a job because of COVID, or you're not as good of a negotiator because you have boobs. That's lunacy. Okay. It's just lunacy.
It can make you a better negotiator.
That's a whole other side conversation. But yeah, no, and let people think you're stupid. Who cares if they think you're stupid? Who cares? You know what you're capable of. You know what you can do. And you know what? If you are stupid, so what? I worked with a girl who was dumb as a box of rocks and one of the best workers I ever worked with. And she would tell you too. She knew. I'm not being mean right now. She knew. But she was a fantastic worker because she was self-aware and self-mastered and knew how to work with everything. And she was phenomenal. So just basically, you're going to hear a lot of nonsense. Who cares? Just be aware. Use your resources, network. That will come in handy more than I can ever tell you. Use LinkedIn, guys, and use it properly. Comment on people's things, get into conversations, get to know people. It is amazing. I now have resources all over the world, including my partner on the show, who is a dual citizen. I mean, it's amazing. And I have people in Canada, Nigeria, India, Spain, all over the place. And it's amazing what you learn. And so ladies, use those things. Use them.
Who you resource with is imperative. Your network is imperative to your success.
Absolutely. And connect to these wonderful people that have been on our show today. And so just go back up to the comments, find their links. They are all wonderful human beings who will reach out to you, who will talk to you. If you're interested in flying drones for a living, still stuck on that, definitely reach out to Maggie Schuster. Scroll up and check that out, and I will find their link. It is Women in Drones is one of them. But so womenindrones.com, check them out. And just, guys, utilize and focus. That's the main thing. And ladies, just remember, we're awesome. And every time that we get into a field, we do it better than guys. Seriously, look it up. It is ridiculous. We are so much better at basically everything. Sorry, guys. I love you too. But ladies, seriously.
We can't talk about guys too much.
No, guys are great. No insult to the guys, man. But seriously, ladies, we're good at stuff too. So we're just as great at stuff. So get in there and don't let somebody tell you to be this way because you're a woman, or be that way because you're a woman, or do this job because you're a woman, or don't do that job. If this is your personality, you do you. and you go for that field, and that's it. And the last thing I want to say before we let go today is we actually have a part-time job opening with Career Launch right now. So I am looking for basically an assistant to help me with all the stuff that I've been doing on the show, because I have a lot of the back end stuff, not being on the air. Let me just specify that. So helping with research, helping reach out to guests, organize all of that. I am looking for somebody to step up and help with that, as well as some marketing type things. I need somebody who is available during work hours, and not all day, every day. You're talking like 2 to 4 hours of work a week. Very, very easy. But I need somebody who can step up and kind of help out, who's interested in learning behind the scenes on a podcast, that kind of thing. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. Please connect to Michaela and I anyway. Any last words, Michaela?
I've very much enjoyed this show, and I loved having all the guests on and talking with them. Everyone that we have on just always contributes such beautiful material.
Absolutely. And guys, if you didn't get to catch the whole show, go back and watch. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And you can even get Sasha-fied too, just like we were. So on that note, I feel Sasha-fied. Yeah, now we know. So guys, ladies, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. Have a happy new year. Get geared up for 2021. And remember, you're all amazing. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.